Travelers on the Omnibus occasionally touches on mature subject matter with mature language. As such, the audience discretion is advised. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Travelers on the Omnibus, a field trip through nerd and pop culture. My name is James McCarthy.
I'm Brady Davis.
I'm Jody Kite.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
Yeah, we put Ethan Skinner through an aging device, and now he is older now.
He sounds a little bit more burly than normal.
He sounds like we were working out the issues with it.
Out.
Yeah, we're working out the issues with it, and he sounds very much like Jason Holder.
Wait. Hold on. I can prove that I'm Ethan.
Okay.
Let's see. Somebody give me a singer from the last 5 years.
I was hoping that you were gonna go, when the crow meets a butterfly.
See, that would involve me actually knowing
there you
that
go.
much of a lyric.
Anyone
Ethan,
else but
when you listen to
Shinedown.
this, I'm not the one who brought up shitting on Shinedown this time. It's not me.
We did talk about it in the pre-post. The post-pre.
The post,
The pre-pre. The pre-pre.
The pre.
There you go.
That's gross.
All right. So everybody's been introduced. That was actually, that's Jason Holder
Jason
from Whiskey
Holder.
and Wrestling, our very good friend and podcasting colleague. So, yes, very nice. Jason, thank you for subbing in this week. Ethan, and now I'm going to tell you the true secret. Ethan and his girl B, Queen B, Ms. Bianca, they were on a wonderful, majestic cruise on Saturday. And in order to get that wonderful, majestic time off to take that wonderful, majestic cruise, he had to work tonight. So...
Welcome to the real world, motherfucker.
And by wonderful, majestic cruise, you mean like they went out on a rowboat somewhere?
Yes, they did the Walter Anderson. They rode out to the Barrier Islands and then they painted. Like only the locals will understand that reference. But
Yeah, that is a very niche joke. There.
That's a hard pass on.
I'm okay with niche jokes if someone laughs. Just one person. That's all I need. So there you go.
And everyone laughed.
All right. So Brady Davis, what have you been up to?
I got a couple of things in. This past weekend, I got my kids, and we actually went to the World War II Museum in New Orleans.
Oh, sweet.
I kind of left it up to them as to what to do. I planted the seed. I'm going to be honest. I planted the seed because I've been wanting to go back to this museum because I really like history. I really like World War II, and I haven't been in a while. So luckily, they didn't. I don't think that they did any research of anything else that they could have done, and they picked that.
They didn't use Microsoft Encarta.
So was this like hey, you can go to the stupid aquarium and see stupid fish, or you can go see like where Call of Duty comes from?
My son doesn't like Call of Duty, so that wouldn't have worked. He's a Dark Souls kid. I just kind of planted it. I was like, the thing that I was thinking of, I would tell him like, hey, the thing that I was thinking of was going to the World War II Museum. But we can do, if y'all want to do something else, y'all can look up what to do. I told him like, hey, we can go here, and here.
Did your son go, yeah, I want to do some hand grenades? And he said, okay, so World War II Museum, avoiding Bourbon Street entirely.
So the way you got this is you were going to make them do homework, and they were just like, nah, fuck all that.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, if anybody hasn't ever been, the World War II Museum in New Orleans is one of the best museums that I've ever been to. And I haven't been there in about 10 years, so they've added so much stuff. Like there was basically, last time I went, there was like the main pavilion, which had like the stuff from Europe and the Pacific, and then they had another place where they had like a theater and things like that where they did a special show. But now they've added like 3 more buildings. Like they've separated a lot of stuff. Like there's all new stuff. It is a very, very good museum. If you like history, if you're interested in like World War II. It does a very, very good job of like talking about things and showing you artifacts and things from it. And I think that they really, really enjoyed it. Like my daughter, at the end of it, we spent like 4.5 hours there. Got there a little bit after 1, and they closed at 5. We were leaving at like 5:40. We were getting in the car, and she was like, "Oh, I didn't." My son was like, yeah, we've been there like 5 hours. And she was like, oh, we were there 5 hours. I didn't even notice it.
Well, that's a good sign.
Now, I noticed it because my back was killing me.
Right, of course.
Welcome to old.
Yeah.
But I was also, you know, because it's something that I like, I was also going through and be like, oh, yeah, and then there was this and this and this and explaining different things because I'm a nerd like that.
The important question is, since you went to a World War II museum
Yes.
and you took your kids,
Yes.
did you wear cargo shorts with a polo tucked in, knee-high socks, and flip-flops? Like a true dad.
Unfortunately, no, I didn't dad it up that much.
I'm so disappointed in you.
I did wear shorts, but I wore a band T-shirt, so I was the cool dad.
You're the cool dad. Okay.
I don't know.
Question from the omnibus: one exhibit from the World War II museum. If you only get one, what one would you focus on?
If you were to ask my kids, it would be the theater thing that they did. It's a short little program. It's about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I think. And it's basically like a quick run through of World War II. But there's like effects. There's a point where like it looks like snow's falling. They have things pop up in front of the stage. Like there's like a turret that pops up that looks like something off of a battleship that's like firing. And there's a part where they're talking about like the manufacturing, and they're and like on the screen like a plane's being put together, and then like the cockpit like slowly comes down and then like matches up, and then it cuts to where it's flying in the air.
Oh, that's really neat.
That's a really cool effect. They do a really cool effect when they talk about dropping the atomic bomb. Like there's this.
They dropped a real bomb.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I am
added effect.
Good. Congratulations, everybody. You were also all irradiated because of me. But
Where the wind blows.
But that was their favorite part. I don't know. I would have a hard time with that because like I've been there several times and some of the stuff is still the same. They still have there's a part where they talk about specifically D-Day because this did start as the D-Day Museum originally, and then it was expanded. Man, it's really hard to pick something. Parts where they talked about the specific European and Pacific theaters, they had like a level each on those. Those were the new things that I experienced that I'd never seen, but those were really, really good. And I think they did a really good job of I don't think they gave it as much time as I would have, but they did a really good job of like talking about also like, hey, here are the things that we did in World War II that was fucked up as well. So
You did the whole, this is the tour, I'm never coming back tour. Like, I mean, as far as like, you were there for 5 hours, so I don't know, like how many times you'd want to go back and do that again.
I'm a nerd.
Okay.
This is like maybe the 4th time I've been to this
Oh,
museum.
okay.
Most of the time it's been in like school and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The last time I went was when I was taking a World War II class at Southern at USM, and a veteran actually paid for the entire class.
Oh, that's cool.
You mentioned USM to the top. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. Smit. I don't know. I haven't been there in a while, so
I thought to the top was their rallying cry.
Southern Miss to the top.
To the Southern Miss to the top. Oh, okay.
Yeah. SMTTT.
Okay. Smit.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
I think that's how they pronounce it. I don't know. I haven't been there in a while. To be honest, I went there, took my classes, and then usually went home, maybe ate something there. But so I wasn't involved in the culture quite as much. But I don't know. Like, I'm a nerd, and I really like World War II and history and things like that. So I would probably go back, but I don't have to go back for a while.
Right.
But we that's about how long it takes to see everything.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because there's a
from what
lot
you've been
more than what
saying.
they used to
Yeah.
have. Like there's a whole section just on like the war at home, basically, like all the manufacturing and everything that we did actually in America. So, yeah, it was pretty good. Really quick, the other thing that I did was the other day I saw the new Jordan Peele movie, Nope. Really, really good. I still like Us the best. I don't know where it ranks
That one's
between
really
Get Out
good.
and Nope and Nope, but it's a really good movie. Jordan Peele's a really fucking good director, so like it's a good thing. It's the message isn't quite as evident as his other movies, but it's really good acting. Really, like there's some really disturbing parts of this one. Like it's definitely, I think, more disturbing and weird in some parts than his other movies. So yeah, check that out. Jordan Peele's Nope. That's a really, really fucking good movie.
So, yep to nope.
Yep.
Got it. All right.
Yep to Nope.
There we go. All righty. Jason Holder, friend, guest, what have you been up to?
See, this is the part on our podcast where I go, I've been working, and that's it. That's basically it.
There you go. Oh, wait, you forgot to say something.
What?
It's a 4-letter word.
Oh, yeah. Fuck.
Welcome. Welcome to the uncleanliness.
Since this is the whole nerd culture podcast, I feel like I can talk a little more about what I actually have been doing. Two things, really. One, Final Fantasy XIV. The new patch is coming very soon, so I've been doing pre-patch stuff, work for that. And the second thing is, two friends of mine that I know Jay knows, Brady may know, and I don't think Jody knows at all, who are nerds, but not in the gaming nerd culture thing. Like Carl collects comic books, and Nick is a movie nerd. They started playing Blood Bowl 2 on PlayStation, right? So that has become hey, this would be cool to play on the table, because I was like, hey, this is an actual game, right? I've bought into that a little bit and been painting a Lizard Man team. So continuing the painting journeys.
You missed a word there. He's painting a Lizard Man team well, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna laud our friend here in his painting styles.
Yeah, he showed us some pictures.
That
of it.
Croxagore is Croxa-perfect. I tried to do a pun
thank
there.
you.
It was terrible. But yeah, no, it was very good, brother. Very good.
I will just say that I've been painting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
Well, it's funny how you keep painting that you get a little bit better at
it
it
is
every
kind of
time.
crazy,
Yeah.
though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
you think I'd learned that maybe?
well, hon, not necessarily, because learning is experience plus reflection. If all you have is the experience, but then don't think about, well, I achieved this by doing this, there is no learning from that.
No
Oh, look at
improvement.
Jay getting all Sun Tzu on.
There you
us.
go. Exactly.
Confucius.
I am the art of war.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it.
There you
That's
go.
what I've been doing, and looking forward to playing it a little bit.
Yes. If we were in Norway, Jody, what have you been up to?
Actually, I read the Book of Tao by Lao Tzu. I'm joking. I have read that book.
No, fucking run with it.
I've read that book a couple of times, actually. And the best translation is the...
Klingon? Is it Klingon?
The Tao of Pooh, where
I've seen that.
they take Taoism and they translate it into the caricatures from the Winnie the Pooh stories. And it plays out perfectly, because if you're really centered, you're Pooh. The bear,
Yeah,
the
I like
honey.
that. I like that. I like those philosophical books
because
like that.
because Pooh is a very simplistic character.
It's a shame that you won't be able to find that in Beijing.
I'm sure you won't.
Oh no.
Yeah, definitely not.
You know what I'm referencing, right, John?
Are you talking about Tiananmen Square?
No,
or
Xi Jinping kind of looks like Pooh is the joke.
And they use that to embarrass him, and so he has been.
So Winnie the Pooh
eliminated.
is
banned.
verboten in
Yes. There you go.
China.
Well, okay. So what I've really been doing, is I was telling Jay earlier, I missed the entire PS3 legacy of gaming, because as we were reflecting, and Jay's like, oh yeah, that was 100% true, is when the PS3 came out, there was 5 launch titles, and I think all but one of them were complete trash, like Lair and things like that. And then there was no games for the system for almost a year, for the most part. So I got a 360. So I could play Halo and all that stuff. So I missed a lot of the, staples for that generation on that Sony platform. And so recently, I acquired the Uncharted collection.
Ooh.
And
Real good games.
I played the remastered Drake's Fortune first Uncharted game for the first time last week, and I beat it. And I took a couple of days to beat it or whatnot. Overall, I enjoyed the hell out of it. There were a couple of points in the game where I was slightly frustrated.
Talk about the jet skis.
I will.
The first
Yeah.
one is fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
There's a couple. Okay, so the jet skis. That's part of 2 things I'll talk about. But there was a puzzle. A couple of the puzzles. Most of the puzzles were easy, but there was a puzzle where you were it was the part where you were overhanging the church, and you're walking on the wooden platforms, and there's 2 keys. There's one on the left side of the room. There's one on the right side of the room, and you have to go pull on one of them, and then pull on the other one to open the window that's in the center. Finding the pathway to the one on the left side was near impossible. I had to die several times before I could even find it. That was mildly frustrating. What was actually frustrating though was two things. One, the jet skis, which is where
Jet skis are horrible.
you're driving the jet ski while also trying to shoot barrels at the same time, while like at some points going up a current and up like little waterfalls without seeing that there are like barrels that explode on you like on impact or not even on impact. Just they get like within a couple of inches of you and you're done for. And then whenever the spoiler warning for a game that came out in 2006, there's a point where there are like the zombie Spanish conquistadors and Nazis, and there's a point where you're running away from them down like this little corridor, and there's like 6 of them right behind you, and you make one misstep, and it's not a quick time event, you just die.
Yeah. That was the part that really pissed me off because I don't like survival horror. I'm not a big survival horror fan. I don't really play them. I have nothing like necessarily against them. It's just I don't like playing them. I don't like it. And then like 3/4 of the way through the game, it turns into a survival horror game. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I hate this.
Right. They turned into like I really like the story. So like it's the quest for El Dorado pretty much, but El Dorado is just one statue made out of gold, quote unquote statue made out of gold that is cursed.
Yeah.
So another thing I mentioned to Jay was that man, did it end abruptly. Like you finish the last fight and then it's just like, hey, let's go, and then everybody leaves.
I'm gonna spoil you. They all end.
They all end that.
I haven't actually finished the 4th one.
Okay.
But of the
4
3
has a much more substantial ending.
That makes sense because it is supposed to be like actually the last one. They all end pretty abruptly. But like I'm excited for you to actually play 2 because 2 is phenomenal.
I'm gonna try and play 2 and talk about that next week.
I fucking love Among Thieves. Like that is such a good game.
And the other thing I've been doing, which is like way on the other spectrum, is I've been reading the writings of Austin Osman Spar. He is a delusional artist from the early 20th century. He wrote these books somewhere between 1910 and 1930. And if you thought that Lovecraft had some esoteric gobbledygook to get through, I'm just going to read you like a line or two from what he calls... this is his own philosophy on religion, called The Sermon to the Hypocrites, an automatic writing by Austin Osman Spar. Hostile to self-torment, the vain excuses called devotion. Satisfy the habit by speaking loudly unto yourself. I'm going to stop there.
So there's this site called Time Cube.
Oh, God.
It is literally from the late 90s. And what you just read was exactly what Time Cube sounds like. Except it didn't bring up nature's harmonious simultaneous four space time cube.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I bring a sword that maintains its own medicine, the sour milk that cureth the body. Prepare to meet God. There we go.
Okay,
So,
I mean...
Unless I miss my guess, isn't automatic writing one of those like late 1800, early 1900 woo-woo things where like you got put into a trance?
You're trance writing.
So you see, I thought it was just like stream of consciousness, but no, it's also
it's both. It's both. Like you put yourself into like, okay, so I'm a vessel for some creativity thing, deity or being or whatnot, and it's like using my body to channel this thought onto paper or whatnot. This guy actually created something that is the great-grandfather of what would become in the 70s chaos magic. Also, Discordians, if you don't know who those people are, they have their own religion, but they're also part of so-called like non-religions like the Church of Bob, the Subgenius, and things like that. Just like really weird shit. But
Chaos
more
magic. I know all about the Scarlet Witch.
you got it. But yeah, it's more philosophy than anything else. But if you ever want to read like the ramblings of a madman lunatic, this guy hung out in bars with prostitutes. He never slept with them because he hated like society so much that he'd rather hang out with the destitutes of society.
I was like, he hated society so much he didn't fuck prostitutes. This sounds like something that would be going through his brain.
He was also an artist, and people offered him money for his paintings, and he went, "I hate money."
Yeah, that's
I kind of hate money too, but I need it.
Right.
This is the way it is.
You know, some of us we paint miniatures. Some of us play video games. Jody reads the ramblings of a madman. I mean, we all have some. Need
I did.
something to
I
do in
did
our
mention
spare
that I
time.
played Drake's Fortune beforehand.
He did play video games as well.
I have to have a balance of. I know. I know.
Thank you to Brady Davis for pigeonholing one of his one of his co-hosts. You know, so there you go.
Hey, if you need somebody to shit on something or somebody, I'm your man.
Yes,
Man, where's
Jay-
Ethan?
So Jay, what have you been doing?
I have been playing Among Us. I went back to it. It's been a while. I want to say it's been about
Been a while.
since I played Among Us.
Look at this photograph.
Look at this graph. That's still my favorite. That's my favorite meme from
Oh,
that.
yeah, I love
my
that
God.
one.
It's so perfect. But Among Us, it's been about, I'm going to say 6, maybe 8 months. The last time I played, they had just released the airship map, which is their biggest, like, convoluted map. They've now gone to 15 players, and you can have 3. You could have 3 imposters back in the day, but 3 with 10 was just a quick game. You either caught one immediately and then just kind of whittled it down, or the 3 of them would just kill with impunity and just wipe everybody out. But now with a 15-player, it's a lot more that can be on the map, so I'm very happy about that. They've also added special roles for people. The shapeshifter is one of them, where the where the imposter can turn into the shape of another person in the thing and then go around killing. You have the engineers. Engineers are good guys that can use the vents like imposters, so they can get around a little bit faster. But then it's like, hey, you're using the vents. What the hell is going on with that? Guardian angels can be used to block someone from killing someone, but you have to be dead first. So that's kind of cool. I like some of the new roles. I like the new engineer role because it then adds. It's like, oh, I'm an engineer, guys. Look, I can see I'm going up and down through the vent. Everybody knows I'm an engineer. But you're not the engineer. You're going out to kill everybody.
Mm-hmm.
The shapeshifter, I think, adds a little bit too much chaos to it. If you don't see them changing, or if you don't wait till they change back, because they are on a timer. Once they shapeshift, they have to go back to it. If you don't catch that, then it's like, I saw blue kill green. It's like, wait, I'm blue, and I was with this guy. I was with orange, and orange is like, yeah, I was with him the whole time, yeah. And so, but was it really blue? Or was it somebody else? Or were blue and orange both the imposters, and he's just saying, oh, I was with him on the other side because they saw him.
Sounds slightly confusing.
It adds a little bit too much to the game. I would also say that I played on servers that still did not have dedicated voice support.
Mm-hmm.
And I think having voice in the game, I think that, like, I like Discord servers. I like the Discord app, but if you could have that built into the game in order to have that, I think it would amp it up a lot better. I would also say is if you're playing rando lobbies, you're either going to have the best time you've ever had or the absolute worst time you've ever had.
That's why I don't play games like that.
Yeah, because sometimes it's just going to be like when you're around friends, or if you're at a party and it's with some people, that basis. If you just got 10, if you're just 10 randos from the internet, it could either be the most enjoyable thing you've ever been through because it's like, you're successfully like figuring things out together as a team, or maybe what the hell was that? Was that me?
Yeah. That was you.
Oh my God! I apologize for beating a drum in a storm drain. That's the only thing I can think of there. But yeah, if you don't have that kind of connection with people that you already have, it kind of diminishes from it. But I've been enjoying my time with it.
It sounds awesome. I think games like that, they add stuff like that every once in a while to kind of spice it up after it's been out for a couple of years especially. And I think any issues like that will probably work themselves out, and they'll probably like eliminate anything that's giving the game problems,
Yeah.
The YouTuber Disguised Toast, in my opinion, is probably like one of the best social deduction game players, particularly in Among Us. Just look at, Disguised Toast. Look up some of these. He's got one of the best imposter videos I've ever seen. There's a special role that I don't think has made it to the main game yet called Jester, where the Jester is trying to get voted out. It's very similar to the Tanner in Ultimate Werewolf, a few other roles in some other games such as that. And he has one of the best Jester games I've ever seen played. Like, it came down to the bitter end. And it was between him, the imposter, and another crewmate. And the way he played it out was just absolutely amazing. I would definitely look up those videos if you like good social deduction gameplay and good Among Us gameplay. It's just absolutely, if you like good Among Us gameplay, you've probably seen Toast videos over 100 times because they're just so good. The point I was making there, he stopped for a long time because once you've played it so much, even the meta no longer is exciting or enjoyable because it's literally the same repeat thing that you've had over and over again. go away from the game.
Mm-hmm.
New stuff comes in. He's actually come back and he's actually started to do some more videos in it.
Yeah, anything can be tedious after a
Yeah.
while.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you lose the spark, then the whole thing goes out.
I go long pauses in between Minecraft plays because the game's been around for like 10 years and that gets old
You
after
get to
a
the
while.
point where there is literally nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
MMOs suffer from that a lot between
Right.
content patches. You log in, and Warcraft, all of them, they have their daily things,
Mhm.
just to keep you logging in. Because if you don't, you stop logging in, and when you stop logging in, then you start sitting there and thinking, why am I spending this $15 a month?
Right.
And you cancel. So they got to do something to try to keep you there.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do with. I've taken all the classes to 120.
Yeah. And that's the thing, and those you're paying for. So, a lot of people are going to have that, well, I'm paying for it, I have to do this. I need to log in. But if you're talking about like Among Us, which is free, or Minecraft where you buy it once and now you have it. Yeah, once you pretty much, I've killed the Ender Dragon, or, I've played 1,000 games.
Or you've built a 1-to-1
okay.
reconstruction of the Red Keep from King's Landing. Yeah.
Or a
Right.
functioning clock.
Or a functioning computer that you can play Doom on.
Right. Right.
You can play Doom inside of Minecraft.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they keep
insane.
adding like extra, types of nature in the game and animals and things like that. Just keep fresh,
Alrighty. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's what we've been doing. What have you been doing? Let us know at travelersontheomnibus at gmail.com. Travelers is 1L. Again, travelersontheomnibus at gmail.com. Thank you for listening to us right now. If you'd like to recommend this podcast to a friend and they have different services, we are available on Saga, which is Spotify, Apple, Google, and Anchor. I came up with that right as I was sitting here.
You can also message us directly on Spotify.
Messages and also take part in our polls and episode questions.
Mm-hmm.
No passenger feedback for this week, gentlemen. So thank God for that, because the last 2 weeks we have been destroyed by Kevin Shelton and Jared Hubbard giving us their opinions and why we were wrong.
Yeah. And
We've
then we
been
have
destroyed.
to give a treatise on why they are wrong, and then we are also right.
And then one day we will have war.
Yes.
But that war will not be tonight.
No.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our main topic of the episode, licensing in video games. Since almost the dawn of video games, licenses have occurred in such things as, Star Wars and E.T., and there was this whole one company that uses a rainbow, and I'm pretty sure Jody's going to knock your socks off with some information on that. Going all the way into the present day, where it's less about games and more about just having the characters. What has been the history and where is the
Or
future?
money.
Or money.
Yeah.
Money
True.
is good.
Money,
is good.
loot boxes.
Number 1, brand recognition. Number 2, marketability. Number 3, fucking money.
All right, Mr. Plinkett.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that was
Plinkett,
was
from
stolen.
Attack of the Clones.
That was stolen completely from their Attack of from the was it Attack of the Clones or was it the Revenge of the Sith review?
I mean, Attack of the
It was-
Clones had
it was
9
from-
parts.
That was from one of his.
One of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His,
Mike
Mr. Plinkett reviews.
Mike Stoklasa, Jay Bauman,
Rich
Rich Evans,
Yeah.
and the entire crew over there. Like, watch those. You've more than likely seen them, but I'm going to say this right now: watch their stuff. 'cause
They're
it's
best of the
amazing.
worst, man. It's so good.
But
It
ladies
has
and-
one of my favorite lines of all time, where he looks at one of the people in Phantom Menace and just goes, "What's wrong,
wrong with your
face?"
face? Yeah, their radio commentaries on movies, like the watch-alongs when you're watching
The breakdown
it's also-
for Terminator Genesis is something of
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, so
Back on topic.
yeah. You know what? Let's make it our top Red Letter Media and why we love them. I think we can go 4 hours on
Yeah,
that.
I can
let's-
talk 4 hours just about best of the worst episodes, but
Yeah, absolutely. But ladies and gentlemen, I will now turn the bus over, the wheel and the pedal over to Jody, who will present us
Oh, you let
with
him
some
have both.
with some. Yeah, he has the wheel and pedal. I still have the keys. Go figure how the bus runs without it, but I don't know.
I'm gonna first start
It's a magic
with
bus.
we're not gonna spend too much time on the early years of it because everybody knows that Pac-Man and ET were shit. But I'm gonna tell you from my personal experience.
Hang on,
Uh-huh.
Pac-Man on the Atari 2600
Right.
was shit.
I was getting to that.
I don't want 500 emails.
I was getting to that, but I was mid sentence. But thank you though.
499 of them would have come from Jason.
Yeah.
How the
I don't
fuck
know,
can
man.
you?
I've never been a fan of Pac-Man.
I always thought Pac-Man was fine. I don't know.
Just never
I don't
been a
hate
fan
it.
of it.
Like, it's just not
the
my
the
game.
Atari
Why did I
2600
think you
version.
were?
The Atari 2600 version was god awful.
Well, it's fucking
But-
ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I was like, 9 or 10 when that came out for the 2600. And the funny thing is, being in the like first generation of consoles, because the Odyssey doesn't count for anything. The one person that gets angry about a flashlight on a TV, go ahead. Write it. Go ahead. I'm here for it.
But Jody,
I will.
The screen clings were so cool and immersive.
The screen clings were only cool and immersive on the Vectrex. The Vectrex.
Have you ever tried to play roulette on a Magnavox
Christ.
Odyssey?
I know.
It's a nightmare.
I know now how Ethan feels when we're talking about this. Because I have I'm familiar with the Atari 2600.
You're the episode, Ethan.
baby.
You're a widow baby.
Ethan, I take back everything that I've ever said negative about you.
He has his hands. He
For
has
the
his
next
fingers
15
crossed.
minutes.
He has his fingers crossed. Ethan, don't believe him.
Yeah, quick
Yeah.
side note for Brady and Brady only, and maybe one other person listening to this show. The Odyssey was a video game console, in quotation, air quotes, where you put a piece of plastic over your TV that had a decal, some art on it, and you would flash a fucking light.
Like a paddle
Yeah, a
controller.
paddle, and there would be a light square behind it, and you would do things. There was no scoring. There was no anything.
sounds terrible.
Like it was a racing game
Yeah.
where you put the little window cling thing on your TV,
Right.
and it had a track,
Right.
and then you use your paddle
To move a
guide
square
little-
light.
a square light around the track,
Right.
and it came with a little pad in the box, so you could count your laps.
Yeah, and if there were two players, good fucking luck with keeping up which one was which, because they both looked identical, and you would cross over because it was just two
Controllers-
flashlights.
Unless I missed my guess, the controllers were attached to the
Yeah, they
machine.
were.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
they were.
Jesus.
Yeah, they were.
All of
Yeah.
this sounds horrible.
Pong,
It was.
Pong was like 100
It
times
was.
better than the Odyssey machine, and it only had like one
It was
game with
hard.
variation. So again, playing Pac-Man for the first time, being on the Atari 2600, and not having any sort of like prior examples of what a bad game was, because I've been I played Combat, Asteroids, Defender, all these like really fucking like rad ass games. And then Pac-Man for the Atari 2600 comes up, and it's got this awful, like all of it's awful. You have an awful like blue light that keeps like flashing on the fucking screen. Like instead of it being black and white, I don't know why.
was blue and pink.
It was like luminous blue and pink. Like if you had epilepsy,
No, you're giving it too much credit calling it pink. It was blue and chartreuse. That's
Yeah.
yellow and green.
Yeah, and
if
it
you
was.
didn't, if you didn't like looking at, the Game Boy like vomit green screens.
No, the I compared to the Virtual Boy. Like as far as like painful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like it burned your retinas.
Like legitimately painful.
Yeah. And giant, the art, whatever. It had giant square blocks. Nobody gave a fuck. But the noise the Pac-Man made
Oh, yeah.
was like
It was
ungodly.
not the waka.
No, it was like,
It wasn't- yeah.
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 Well, the thing that I remember is like, even though like Pac-Man in the arcade was like a very simplistic looking game, this made it even simpler looking, which you're thinking of Pac-Man and you're like, I can't understand how this can get any simpler and any more basic looking. They made it worse. It's like taking it from like 10 megapixels to 2 pixels.
So
that's the difference.
The other part of that is, okay, so you remember in Pac-Man there were 4 ghosts, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Then there was Pac-Man, and then there were dots and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Right. Well, the 2600 didn't have the capacity to put 4 ghosts.
No.
Yeah.
And a Pac-Man on there.
No.
So you had 2 ghosts.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were all the same color.
Yes.
And they were either the color of the board, so that chartreuse
see
yellow, or when you ate the power pellet, they then became invisible because they were the same blue
As the background.
as
Yes.
the background.
Yep.
Yes.
And they would just blink like a little bit so that you could make out an outline. Yeah.
Man.
Now, let's not dwell too much on Pac-Man for the 2600.
Because realistically, that's not licensing.
No.
Well,
it was.
it was.
It was because Namco didn't make that. Atari made
Atari
that
made it.
off a
Yeah, I guess so.
license
Yeah.
Right.
from Namco.
'Cause
Yes.
like when I think of licensing, I always think of
Oh, we're getting into
movies,
it.
comics.
We're
that kind of
getting
stuff.
we're gonna get into it.
Like
we're starting
E.T.
at the we're getting into it. We were starting at the very beginning because I remember that being pretty early on.
And that was one of the first really bad ones.
Right. There's a couple of like weird things also that happened with licensing that I'd like to touch on after we get started. But yeah, E.T. is really the first like movie licensed video game that I remember. Like there might have been like one other one before that. I think there was
for me it was The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah,
it was the Hoth scene. Like, and every video game ever that has anything to do with Empire Strikes Back has a Hoth battle at some point in it.
And that's pretty much all that game was, right?
Yeah.
It was just a Hoth battle over and over again.
Yeah, you were in the air, snow speeder and just shooting down AT-ATs.
And I want to say that there was also like an Indiana Jones game on the 2600.
There was.
I can't remember.
The better Indiana Jones game was called Pitfall, though.
Oh, Pitfall.
Yeah.
Not licensed. Amazing game.
Howard Scott Warshaw was the designer behind the Indiana Jones game, and I will give him this credit. Nowadays we take it for granted, but that game had an inventory system. You had to use both controllers. Basically, you had a 2-stick setup long before that was even a notion in video games. As far as your controllers nowadays, you had to do a certain set of events, and there was an ending. You actually were playing towards an ending for a game.
It wasn't just, hey, you died and here's your score.
So E.T., the history of E.T. the video game was that the movie was coming out in a month and they wanted a video game.
Yep.
In a month. When at the time, watched a documentary way back in the day for Bushnell, who's
Nolan Bushnell.
Nolan Bushnell.
Howard Scott Warshaw, also
founders of Atari.
I just wanted again, Howard Scott Warshaw was also the guy given the task of, hey, you've got to they wanted it for a Christmas release. You have 5 months.
Yeah. I was about to say, if I remember correctly, it was literally one guy working on it.
Yeah, it was one guy working on it, and like, normally the window for making a game like that was like almost a year.
Yeah.
Like for real, like an actual game that worked, that functional, and he was given basically no time to make it. Problems with, of course, E.T. is blamed for its bad game mechanics, but actually, if you know what you're doing, it's not a bad game. It's a 15-minute game if you know what you're doing. But I mean, with no walkthroughs and no patience for playing that game.
Even at that, it wasn't so much like people want to blame the gameplay that's why E.T. killed the Atari.
That's
right?
not
the
why.
Reason. They made more copies of that cartridge than there were Ataris made.
And they made more Ataris during that year than there were people that would probably buy one.
And they were already pushing towards the 5200 and the 7800 at that point.
And also, this was also the point where you had a glut of this is the first instance of shovelware.
Yeah.
And if we want to talk about licensing,
so many bad games.
Chase the Chuck Wagon. You had a video game based off of dog food.
Yeah.
There was, because Atari was like, you want to make a game for the Atari?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do it.
That's why eventually we got the Nintendo seal of approval for Nintendo games, even though that didn't always mean anything.
Yeah, that was slightly less sketchy, but still kind of sketchy.
But yes. So and it was like correlation of like E.T. They overstretched their budget by trying to make like 3 consoles in the same year or something like that, and assumed that everybody was going to buy E.T. that went to go see the movie, and that was not the case. In fact, my copy of E.T. was bought in my grandmother bought it for me in a women's boutique because there was a copy of that fucking game everywhere.
I got my copy at Circus World,
which
used to be a toy store.
Awesome toy store.
99 cents.
I believe it. In the bargain bin.
And this was this was 99 cents of 1984 money. So
so
it would be like $150.
That's like $300 right now.
You know when a game tanks with like normally. Like, for example, I'm going to give you a game that's worth $1,000 now that wasn't worth $1,000 when it came out. Earthbound. When Earthbound came out, no one knew what the fuck it was. And like 4 or 5.
Sir, if you subscribe to Electronic Gaming Monthly, you absolutely did, because every one of them had that hard cardboard insert.
Oh yeah.
Oh, same with Nintendo
you could
Power.
scratch and sniff.
Especially with Nintendo
When the
Power.
game came out, though, no one knew what the fuck it was.
And no one bought it.
And no one bought it, and I wish
I bought it.
I bought it too.
That's awesome. I saw it in the Walmart bargain bin for $5 and still didn't buy it.
And the thing,
present you is mad at past you right now.
because the thing sealed now is worth like $1,000.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
But it was a gigantic box. It's like, what the fuck is this?
it actually came with its own strategy guide.
Well,
which is cool as hell.
it had to. Yeah. But licensed video games though. So we had the Atari. It had several games on it that were licensed. Of course, the notable ones are E.T. That's one of the worst ones, of course. But there were a couple of good ones. Like I think the Indiana Jones game was all right. Like you said, the inventory and all that. Then we move into like the video game crash happens, and then Nintendo saves everybody. Then we get a company that normally made rubber wrestling toys. Decided they wanted to get into making video games. Not only did they make poor licensed video games, they made poor video games altogether most of the time, and that's LJN.
Yeah. But I do think the highest percentage were licensed games.
They were, but they did they did TNC Surf Designs, I think, or was that somebody?
They did TNC Surf Designs.
Yeah,
which I think is a license from TNC Surf Design. Yeah.
That it's not a movie property, but yeah,
that's also one of those that as like a 6-year-old.
Right.
Playing that game, you're like, cool, the monkey surfing.
Yeah.
You weren't thinking of it in terms of, hey, this is a board short company.
Right. True. Also, most of those levels you couldn't get past the first one on any of those. They were just built for you to fail. Before we get into LJN proper, I want to speak of something that I thought was weird at the time, being a teenager when these games came out. There was a game for Friday the 13th that they made. There was a game for Nightmare on Elm Street. Who's playing these R-rated Nintendo games? Because adults weren't really playing Nintendo games at the time. The
it was
demographic,
a toy. Yeah, it was a toy.
The demographic
at that time were like children.
The demographic for video game players was between 8 and 12. I got made fun of for playing video games at 12 by other kids that I hung out with.
Yeah, I remember like being my brother was like 10 years older than me. I remember like he played some stuff, like he would play like a baseball game or something like that. But like most of the stuff, like by the time I could remember playing like video games on the NES and the Super NES, like he was kind of past that. The
mentality at the time was like, it's a toy, move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Counterpoint.
Yes.
Children were going to see Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. Yes, the rules were in place. I remember in the 80s, because I was a child of the 80s, and they were not enforced.
Yeah.
Well, like, as long as your parent was there, you were cool. And if you were old enough, you can't R-rated 17.
I definitely agree with you on the fact that teenagers were definitely getting into those movie theaters without any issues. However, 8 to 12-year-olds were not typically going to go see Nightmare on Elm Street in 1984 or Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th either. Like the age gap for video games was like a little bit younger than that.
The other thing there is when you start talking about the NES specifically, because the Sega Master System was a thing.
Right.
There were like 3 licensed games on there. I think Rambo is still one of my favorite games. But
Rambo's on there. Ghostbusters
was really good. But when you talk about the Nintendo, again, remember we're talking about it being marketed as a toy.
Right.
This isn't a computer. This isn't a game. They called it an entertainment system, but this was a toy, right? We have to get that all important kid dollar.
Yes.
Hey kid, do you like G.I. Joe? You want to play as G.I. Joe? Go bug your mom for $50. And
hey kid, do you like Platoon?
Right.
Incidentally, he actually just mentioned like one of my favorite licensed games of all time, G.I. Joe on the NES.
It's such a good game.
It's pretty solid. It's pretty good.
But
it's
you know who it wasn't made by?
Not
LJN, yeah.
Because like story for young Jason Holder, right? Big X-Men comic fan. Young Jason goes into Walmart or Kmart probably at the time.
Yeah, it would have been Kmart
or KB Toys.
Oh yeah.
And is looking at the Nintendo games and going, what do I want to spend my hard saved allowance on? I have $50.
Yes.
Took 9 months to get there, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're looking through all these games and you're like, man, what do I want? And then your eye settles on Wolverine.
Yes.
On the cover.
Yes.
Brown and yellow
X-Men
Wolverine.
across it. And you're like, that is where my $50 is going.
Yes.
And you walk up to the counter and you hand it to the teenager that's working there. And did they tell you anything? No, because like Jody said, teenagers didn't play video games back then.
Not really. They played in the arcade maybe, but not consoles.
Yeah. So I take it home and you unwrap it and you put it in your Nintendo and you grab your controller and you're like, I'm going to be Wolverine. and then you spend the next few hours crying unconsolably because of how bad this game is. And then you see the little rainbow of death laughing at you.
I had a similar experience. There was a wrestling game that was coming out for the Nintendo. Believe it was WrestleMania was the name of the game. And I traded in like 8 games so I could get it because, you got shit for games back then. If you think it's bad now,
You got shit for games now.
No.
It's always been shit for games.
There was a good time where you actually got a decent amount of money for your games. But
those 2 weeks in '98
yeah,
were
that's
fucking amazing.
Yeah, that's it. Totally. Yeah, Funko Land, whatever. But
Even
yeah,
Funko Land, Funko Land was the premiere of that. But
right.
even then,
didn't LJN make that game?
yeah,
That WrestleMania game?
Oh,
Oh yeah.
LJN was the provider of WWE games from the NES all the way to the Super NES because there was Super WrestleMania, Royal
Right.
Rumble, and WWE Monday Night Raw.
And you know how you mentioned Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street? Also LJN games.
That's why I mentioned them.
As was Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yes.
Another terrible game.
Yeah.
An interesting point I want to make here.
Sure.
LJN made none of these games.
No, they just
These were-
slapped
They
their
published
names on
They
Yep.
published them
Yeah.
and they outsourced, and so it's one of the things about these games is how uniquely different they all are. Where the only thing that really ties them together is their shit.
Yeah. You have, of course, AVGN is covered all of these, but you have Back to the Future. That's LJN. You mentioned Roger Rabbit, the Bill and Ted video game. Which is also just and not just they're not just. I want the audience to understand something. I want the passengers to understand something. These are not just like bad in a sense of them being bad because they're bad games that are still playable. Some of these games are not playable. Like you can't even get past the first stage on some of these games. Even people do.
Jason mentioned the X-Men. That game is designed to be played by 2 people. If you don't, the second player is still there, controlled by a computer. And if you think their AI is glitchy in 2022, 1986 was not better.
Like there are spots in that game where the second player, because it's a top scrolling.
Yeah, I was just about to ask.
Game,
I think,
right?
if it was
There
the
are
top
spots
down
where you will scroll the second player into a corner, and they're stuck,
Right.
and they can't be killed. But you can't progress the screen because it's one of those, back in the day, 2-player games when you had to be sitting on the couch next to people. The screen wouldn't scroll until both players were ready to scroll the screen.
Right.
And the AI in this game is so dumb that it would get hung behind walls and trapped, and now you have to reset.
And another thing, and this will also reference the AVGN video on it, if your other guy was a ranged character, he just kept shooting and just everywhere like he was going ape shit. And you're not progressing at all. And you couldn't shut that off because it was a primary function of the game.
Because back in those days, and that was, of course, that was the NES era, the licensing was meant to sell product. And it was meant to either catch the kid's eye so that the kid begs mom, hey, I want the Who Framed Roger Rabbit game. Or it was meant to catch the parent's eye and them go, oh, I remember that movie, and buy it for a Christmas or
on
birthday
site without
present.
knowing anything about it. Jay, I want to mention a couple of groups of games, and you mentioned it earlier. I want to mention one after you talk about Sunsoft. So so let's talk about Sunsoft.
Okay, so
let's talk about some good stuff in Nintendo. Go ahead, Brady.
Brady wants this.
So I'm right now. I'm the little baby of the group. I will say there is one LJN game that I do have fond memories of, and it was a licensed game, but it was on the Super Nintendo.
Yes.
Did it have a red cartridge?
Yes, it did.
Maximum Carnage.
Maximum Carnage.
Right.
That
Actually, a good game.
That game fucking ruled. I was shit at it, but that game fucking
I think we're going to
ruled.
touch on Super Nintendo briefly, and we'll talk more about that.
I just didn't know if we were doing.
But again, it goes to this thing like LJN didn't make that game. They published it. They outsourced it out. I would argue that if they had given more titles to people who, instead of just trying to sell it just on the name of the game, because what we primarily talked about here is home console.
Yeah.
When you talk about licensing in arcades,
Oh,
licensing
yeah.
in arcades required
Right.
that the games be better because you needed the money, you needed the quarters to go into that.
Oh,
machine.
yeah.
You had to trick
Right.
yourself into the
It's
console.
almost a night and day difference
Oh,
between
yeah.
console and arcade.
Well,
where
yeah.
Arcade that is some of the best licensed games
Yeah.
of
sure.
all
The
time.
the old school Star Wars games that were licensed in the
Yes.
arcade were
Oh, yeah.
freaking
Oh, yeah.
phenomenal.
I plan on us talking about the arcade licensed games as well.
It's like, we need to format these things better.
Well,
the-
no, they're formatted fine. We're talking about Nintendo. We're going to jump onto something else.
We're going back to
One of my most heartbreaking moments was that I remember as a child was I would rent Maximum Carnage from the local video store all the time. And then one day I go in there and I rent the game, and then I pop the game in the system, and it's not Maximum Carnage; it's something else.
Oh, no.
So what happened was
separation anxiety. That was the follow up.
No. It was just a random.
It was just a random.
Somebody had taken the game, had rented the game, opened up the cartridge.
Oh, no.
Taken the board out of that cartridge. I can't even
that's
remember
amazing.
what, and they put another
That's
game
OG
in,
right there.
And they put another game in, screwed it back, and brought the damn thing back.
That's amazing.
To satisfy the headcanons of everyone, we're going to say it was The Wizard of Oz. Another game that is
LG.
technically a license.
It might have been. I just
How,
remember popping it in.
How did I never think of that as a kid?
and because the intro of it
I could have gotten rid of X-Men.
taught the green jelly logo, because that's the music in that rockin' soundtrack. I'm waiting for that, and then I see something else, and I'm like, what? How is this happening? This
Look at
is
it's
the
still the
cartridge.
red cartridge.
This is the cartridge. And then you look and you can see like little scratches where they've unscrewed the thing, and it's like, oh man, that was a dark day.
Sunsoft.
Sunsoft. So you have mentioned Maximum Carnage. I would like to mention another superhero game that is goddamn phenomenal, and that is Batman, based off
Yes.
of the 1989 Batman film.
Really good game.
God, it's
Both of those games.
Again, it comes down to gameplay. And I think also Sunsoft wanted to make more games, and so like you make your games good. Batman, you have 3 weapons. You have your punch, you have missile. Oh, so you have 4. You have your punch, batarangs, missiles, and dirt. And you go around like it wasn't completely like the cutscenes are tied to what's going on in the movie, but you're fighting things that you never fought in that, in that thing.
That was common.
So,
Yeah.
Back
so
then.
what about this too? We mentioned, say, Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
Ghostbusters was on the Sega Master System. That's where I had it. And it was also on the Nintendo.
It was.
And they were completely different games
Yeah.
that were ported over. The one on the Sega Master System, you bought a car, then you had to load your car out with stuff. Then you went to the spots that were blinking and you trapped your ghost until the center opened up, and then you fought your way to Zool.
It was honestly, it is the same game. Like this is something again. This is well trodden by James Rolfe over at AVGN, but it was the exact same game. It's just that one person porting that, or rather, one team porting that game, took way more pride in their work.
Because the Master System game was so much better.
It's more colorful. The music's
Nintendo
better.
game is trash.
Rambo was like that too. The Rambo version on the Master System was so much better than Rambo was on the Nintendo.
The Rambo on Nintendo was The Legend of Zelda. Zelda 2, Link's Awakening. No, that's I've literally crossed 5 Zelda games.
You've got all of them, and then just pack them all in.
Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link.
There you go.
Okay,
There you go.
My
Sunsoft.
mind is at ease.
Sunsoft.
Sunsoft. So we have Batman. Let's also. So they also came up with a game called Sunman, and like, you fly around. You're powered by the sun. This feels a lot like Superman. It's because it was. And they lost the license of it. But what I love about that is the fact that Sunsoft went through and actually completed the game and made the game. Again, a company that cares more about making games and making things that people are going to enjoy. There's a game called Journey to Silius.
I played it.
Journey to Silius, if you look at a lot of the stuff, particularly in the early levels, you look at that stuff and go, it's a bombed out landscape in the back.
Terminator.
Everything it was supposed to be a Terminator game. They lost the license for it. The people who ended up getting the license gave us a shit brown nightmare of a fucking game, but that one came out, but we also got Journey to Silius, which is difficult. It is a difficult game.
It is very hard.
But I think if you're an NES collector and you collect for playing games, I think that should be in your library.
There's also another glimmer of hope in licensed games, and that's the Disney afternoon games on the original Nintendo.
Those were good.
Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers. DuckTales was phenomenal.
Those were really good games.
Darkwing Duck was okay.
There again, though, like what's the company?
Capcom.
NES Capcom, outside of Nintendo itself, I think was the best developer of NES.
I'd have to agree with you.
Like,
I'd have to agree with you.
hands down.
And hey, if we're talking about licensing, and you were talking about a couple that lost license, Super Mario Brothers 2 is a licensed game.
Oh yeah.
Well, the license
Doki Doki Panic.
because it's
Doki
based
Doki
off of a it's like a Fuji television TV show.
Yeah.
And
It was licensed in Japan,
licensed in Japan.
It would make no sense.
It would make no sense in here because it's an Arabic family. It makes no sense. And like the dad is actually the Toad of the game, and the mom is the Luigi because of how their controls work. It's just strange and weird.
Yeah, going back to and going away from Nintendo to Super Nintendo and Genesis. Like Brady said, there was Maximum Carnage and the sequel to Maximum Carnage. There was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games as well that were arcade. One of those arcade parts.
Those
I would argue
much, the beat 'em ups, the side scrollers.
I would argue the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the NES is too baroque, BAROQUE, to be enjoyable by the target audience they wanted to get.
I have to agree.
Because yet there's
It was
a lot
fun
of
game, but damn, it was hard.
It was hard.
And the difficulty, but then sometimes it's just like
It was
the Technodrome level. Like I powered through it eventually, but that it's like, do I go in the sheds? Do I go in? Okay, I go underground, but there's like a 1 in 4 chance that this is the one that has the Technodrome
that
in it.
game
And
was
if not,
unreasonably hard.
Yeah.
But I guess that falls in that whole old Nintendo.
well, it's NES hard.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
that's the way it
NES.
is.
Hey, we're gonna make these games hard because you're gonna have to play them.
But man, the licensing just got turned up to 11 during the Super Nintendo
yeah.
generation.
And honestly, I think it was better.
I think it was, for the most part, it was better. There's some bad there, but
There's
there's
some bad ones, but-
I played a lot of the Ren and Stimpy games. Those were fun to me. But then you have Wayne's World,
Yeah.
which
But
is
Beavis and Butthead.
Beavis and Butthead. Beavis and Butthead was different on the Genesis and the Super
Genesis one
Nintendo.
was actually decent.
Again,
Yeah.
I will say one team took pride in their
Right.
work, and the other one saw it as work for hire. I mean, it's basically.
And
what
then
it
there's
comes down
those
to.
Super Nintendo Star Wars games.
Yeah.
Those are
Those were really hard but fun.
Which that
I
goes.
enjoyed 'em.
It starts in the NES because JVC did Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back, and they were going to do Return of the Jedi, but during the develop of Empire Strikes Back, they were advised, hey, the Super Nintendo is coming.
right.
So they basically rewrote the ending to Empire Strikes Back where you win at the end. And so if you thought you were playing the movie experience, boy, were you surprised.
And just like in the movies, the second one was like The Empire Strikes Back on the Super Nintendo is phenomenal. It's the best one out of those three.
But it's also like, but I think that one. No, the Star Wars game too. Also, like the
Super Star Wars?
not Super Star Wars, but the original Star Wars. In
OG.
the NES, linked forever the notion of Star Wars and difficult as fuck video game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say the Super Nintendo games for the Star Wars games was also extremely difficult.
Oh no, they kept making them difficult.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's also
Those
where
are-
you really started to ramp up with the sports licensing games too.
Right.
Your Maddens,
Yeah.
your
But now,
your
Electronic Arts,
MLBs,
Electronic Arts come in here. Like,
Oh yeah.
to varying degrees of good and bad.
Yeah. The types of games that I remember playing that were licensed games in that Super Nintendo Genesis era were always the side-scrolling beat 'em ups, the Teenage Mutant Ninja
I
Turtles,
played a
the
lot of
Turtles in
those.
Time.
Yeah.
And there were usually ports from those arcade games, you know,
Right.
the Simpsons game,
That counts as far as I'm concerned.
Oh,
the
100%
X-Men
counts, yeah.
game.
yeah, the X-Men games, all the beat 'em ups were fucking great.
But then there was also there was the X-Men game, and then the one that I remember playing that I loved was X-Men: Children of the Atom.
That one's
Not
good.
that's
that's the fighting game.
I remember the first level. It was like in the snow. You could play like you had Wolverine and Cyclops and Gambit.
It's another
But then you
arcade
also
cabinet that
like
had
Beast
4 players.
and
Yeah.
Nightcrawler.
I do remember that.
This was like more of a platformer fighting thing. It wasn't
Right.
really a side scrolling beat 'em
Right.
up thing. I don't remember what that game is, and that really bugs
I remember
me, 'cause
which
I
one you're
remember
talking
seeing-
about. I just can't remember the
trying
exact
to get
name
to
of
fight,
it.
You there's a part where you fight Magneto, and then he actually joins your team, and he's a character that you can control. And I cannot remember. I never could get past the second level, but that's one that I remember like really loving as a child. Because you could do things like Nightcrawler could actually stick to the walls, and you could climb up the walls and kind of cheat a little bit when it comes to
Right.
to the platforming. But yeah, like those were the types of games that I remember playing in that era.
How about this? This is a fun one. How about the licensed Zelda and Mario games that end up on the CDI?
Oh God.
Yeah.
I'm so hungry, I could eat an Octorok.
Yeah.
I'm going to quote Link from the Zelda cartoon. Excuse me, princess.
It was X-Men 2 Clone Wars.
Actually,
that was going to bug the shit out of me.
the quote that I fumbled on was, it's like, I can't wait to bomb Dodongos. Slow the fuck down, Link. You are clearly on coke.
Plumbers don't wear ties.
I mean, that just.
I like
goes to
plumbers
the
don't
fact
wear
that,
ties.
Hey, when you think of like the greatest video games, you always think of Zelda. You always think of Mario. Those are in the conversation. Well, some of us think of Zelda. Others don't.
No, it's they're thought of and then they get shot.
If we would have brought those CDI games into it, that would have brought the average way down.
Yeah,
That's also
That
true.
is true.
But those are
Hotel Mario would have done the same thing to
Those
Mario.
are
That is also
licensed
true.
games, though.
That's
because
true.
They're licensed out.
Yeah.
There are some good licensed games, and if you take it across all console generations, I would say overwhelmingly they're terrible.
I
They're
think
usually cash grabs.
I think
you're 100% right there.
there is something to be said about that. And for one thing, somewhere between like the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo, Coleco, the toy company that also
The Connecticut Leather Company.
that also had a console, also somehow acquired the rights to make mini arcade cabinet versions of Nintendo and other arcade games during the mid 80s.
Well, Nintendo didn't want to get into the console market in the United States yet, so that's how they handled
and
that.
that's so weird.
Yeah.
They're little bitty like LED like blinking lights.
Yeah.
Pac-Man's still playable, but it looks almost as bad, not as.
Well, it goes even further than that. So Coleco was behind the ports of Donkey Kong for the ColecoVision, the Intellivision, and the Atari 2600.
Which ones look good?
Of the three, which one did you think Coleco did the best job for?
Yeah. They did that with all their games that were on the ColecoVision. That's what Smurfs is awful on any other platform.
I would argue Smurfs is also awful on ColecoVision.
It is also.
However,
it is
at
also
the very
awful.
least looks like the Smurfs.
It does.
And not some blue box.
The good thing to bring up about this is that there's basically like two baskets that these fall into. There's the quick cash grab that, hey, let's slap this property onto the cover of our video game so that people go, oh, let's go look at that, because you talk about going in there and getting the X-Men game, you didn't have like the reviews or anything
right
nowadays,
and also from the PlayStation to the PlayStation 2 to the PlayStation 3 and also the original Xbox and so forth and so on, there has been a Harry Potter video game for almost every movie, and they've all been fucking terrible.
Yeah, because you get the people who don't. It's a cash
Harry
grab.
Potter.
But then you get like these other things that they actually want to take time with them.
Well, I'd reclassify it as the one is work for hire, which you're literally just cashing the check and maybe you get another shot at it. And the other one is work for pride, where you're actually trying to create a game that is going to be fun, that people are going to buy despite whether or not it
Like
has
the
a license
Chronicles
or
of
not.
Riddick. That
Yeah.
game is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any other ones from that generation.
Yeah. Escape from Butcher Bay is the tagline for that one. But yeah, that's a game where like Chronicles of Riddick, not a great movie.
I did like Pitch Black, but I did not.
Pitch Black.
I
Is
wasn't a
generally
big
thought
fan
of
of
like a good movie.
Them trying to
Chronicles of
turn
Riddick
it.
is can be seen as
franchise
dumb
out of
fun, but it's not generally thought of as a good movie. But the game is really good because you got people who decide, hey, let's actually make a really good game out of this.
Most of the Matrix games weren't very good.
Yeah, I would argue
Yeah,
none of the
they
Matrix
were not
games
And
were
that
were
license
great.
goes even further because was it Enter the Matrix? The one that was supposed to go hand in hand with
Enter the Matrix.
Yeah,
I think.
that was
With
pretty
the
good.
Animatrix?
No, not with
no.
Animatrix, but with the actual The Matrix Reloaded.
Yeah, it was
Those-
like you
Probably.
were playing as
Those were
Ghost and Niobe.
Yeah.
Those
I remember
were
that.
concurrent stories
Right.
that were supposed to be running.
Yeah,
at the
you
same
were doing
time.
things while
And-
like the main movie was happening.
Sony made a terrible MMO out of the Matrix.
Yeah,
Which,
the Matrix
let's be
Online,
fair
which
here.
was supposed to like continue from the Matrix. Like,
Which, let's be fair, if any game was going to be a good sci-fi MMO, that should have been it.
so here's something that's interesting. So you remember in the newest Matrix that just came out, Matrix 4, how Morpheus is dead? Spoilers, everybody, for a shit movie. He died in the Matrix Online.
Yeah.
That's where they're continuing from that.
Oh.
So everything that's ever been the Matrix, I guess, is canon. I don't know.
Speaking of Keanu Reeves, the Constantine video game, if you ever played it, was actually all right.
Yeah, it wasn't
Pretty
bad.
fun.
That's surprising.
Yeah, PS2 and the original Xbox. Very, very, there wasn't really a whole lot of licensed games I remember during that time period, though, that were.
I feel like we'd be remiss to not talk about like the X-Men versus Capcom type games.
Oh, before we do that, that actually leads me into something I was going to mention that I forgot to mention earlier. The Street Fighter, the motion picture video game based off the movie, based off the video game.
Oh, man, that's
Based off of Mortal Kombat because it was
Right.
digitized graphics.
yeah, that
Right.
one. That's a special
Yeah.
kind of shit right
That,
there.
that
It
was,
is.
That was 100% Street Fighter going, hey, we need to get something that looks more real to fight with this new upstart Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, me and Jay played that one on the console next
It is
door.
terrible.
Dragon. That's what
So
Ken and Ryu
bad.
say.
It's
So
a rough
bad.
one.
Dragon.
I will say though, you can
Super Dragon. I had to get that in for Wisconsin. Sorry.
you can enjoy the movie. It's dumb and has nothing to do with the actual
Look,
game.
I know
but,
Kylie Minogue looks nothing like Cammy, but
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
just
But she's she's 4 feet tall. So-
come for the poorly translated characters. Stay for the raw Julia.
Yes.
Right.
Who pulls out the arcade console button control when he's like controlling the torpedo.
Fei Long is not in the movie, but he appears in the game.
Yes.
Who is this person?
Yeah.
Blanca looks so bad.
Oh yeah. Ooh, man.
But yes, let's talk about the licensing from Capcom and Marvel.
Well, this is now to me where we start getting, rather than licensing an entire product, you're going to license characters and things from a product to put in a different different game.
That's the beginnings of it. Yes.
Yeah, I think X-Men Children of the Atom, which we mentioned earlier is a fighting game.
Yeah.
Then it slowly morphed into Street Fighter versus X-Men, and then finally
Marvel
Marvel
versus
versus
Capcom.
Capcom.
Street Fighter versus Marvel. Like there's tons of like different ones that we didn't even necessarily see.
And there,
Where it was just like individual characters.
there's one, and I'm not going to try and pronounce the name because it's the name of a Japanese anime studio. Game came out for the Wii, and it was a Wii only.
Yeah, it was Capcom versus Tsukumo or something.
Yeah,
like
something
that.
like that. It's basically like if you know old anime,
The Thunderbirds are in that.
the Gotcha Force is in that.
Yeah,
yeah.
Battle of the Planets,
Battle of the
and some
Planets.
other properties that nobody has any idea of. Actually, some of the characters have appeared in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. The characters where people don't know anything about what's going on, like the little cactus guy with the maracas or whatever. He's from one of those anime properties. So,
Yeah, they did. Marvel Superheroes, was like the game that made me want to, like, because I played that in the arcade and then I found out, and it was so fun. Like I played as Iron Man, and you do his super move where he brings this gigantic cannon down and shoots it, and I was like, oh my god. And then I found out it was for the PlayStation, and that's when I decided I'm going to get a PlayStation and not any other of the consoles at the time.
Breaking news: Tatsunoko versus Capcom.
Tetsunoko.
Yes.
I knew it started with a T.
the game is like over $100 now. I think.
Yeah, I thought about, like, that was one when I saw it on the Wii. I was like, man, I really want to get that game because it does look cool. There's a character that's in that's from that company that's in Marvel versus Capcom, Jin or something. I think he's the guy in the white. If you've ever played Marvel versus Capcom, the first one, he's the guy in the white that jumps into a mech and for his super move or whatever. And you're like, where the hell did this guy come from? And he's from that company. So yeah.
But yeah, that definitely starts out where like you're borrowing characters from other properties and licensing and putting them in video games.
Yeah, and they've gotten crazy with it, like the Ace Attorney, they've gotten really weird with it.
Oh,
And then you get
Smash
'cause
Brothers.
I think that leads directly to stuff like Soul Calibur.
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you have
Soul
the
Calibur, yeah.
special ones
where video games are now licensing other video games to put
Yeah,
stuff in.
Soul Calibur had
Xbox.
Link.
Soul Calibur 2 had Link for the GameCube. It had
Spawn
Heihachi.
on the Xbox and
Spawn was on the
Heihachi
Xbox, and
PlayStation.
Heihachi was on the PlayStation.
Right, and
you
that's
ended up
from
with
Tekken.
Yoda and Darth Vader.
That was
and
Soul
Darth
Calibur.
Yoda and Darth
Next
Yeah,
Vader.
right.
And that now let's talk a little bit about annoying shit.
Yeah,
So if you owned the PlayStation, you got Darth Vader.
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
And if you owned the Xbox, you got Yoda.
Yeah.
Which means if you preferred one of those characters enough, they might be forcing you to buy a whole other console.
Well,
I mean,
that's fandom.
truth.
That's fandom gone crazy.
Yeah.
But
About
still.
3 or 4 months later, you could pay $10 and get the other guy. $10,
Right.
everybody,
Yeah.
Right.
for
Welcome
for
to
a
DLC.
single character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then maybe a year later, if they got like Game of the Year edition or something, if you were lucky, if they did that during that
They
time
didn't do
period,
that for
they
that-
didn't do
for
that.
Soul
Yeah,
Calibur.
I
No,
didn't.
that was Soul Calibur 4.
Right.
They didn't do that. It
Of
was
course, Marvel v. Capcom led us to DC versus Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
DC versus Mortal Kombat in
Which
the
was so weird because the Mortal Kombat characters kept their fatalities, but the DC characters did not get fatalities.
They had the DC heroes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And even then, the fatalities were trimmed down. Like Joker's was shooting somebody,
Yeah.
but the shot is off screen. Like he's killed them, but you don't see it.
Yep.
Yeah, because it was a
Meanwhile,
team-rated-
Sub-Zero rips out somebody's head.
Does anybody remember when they started licensing outside sources for Smash Brothers?
That was Smash Brothers Brawl.
Yeah.
Because it started with the
had-
original and then went to Melee. And Brawl is the first time you see two characters from outside of Nintendo's
Nintendo, yeah.
scope of things. Everyone thought it would be Sonic at first, and when it was was
Solid Snake.
Solid Snake from Metal Gear
I remember
Solid.
that
Everyone
now.
was like, "What the heck?" And like they had full on codecs like written and performed by David Hayter and the voice actors, like the voice actor for Campbell and Mei Ling and all the other characters in there. Which that's going above and beyond the Call of Duty.
Yeah.
I think that
they
was
went
pretty.
out.
That
They
was
went
pretty
all
good
out.
there.
Yeah.
And then it just got stupid.
Yeah.
It's gotten dumb
And
recently.
then Sonic came in there, and then like, do you have a video game character?
Right.
They're probably in Smash Brothers.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That said, when Cloud was announced, that was fire. When Sephiroth was announced, and in the trailer it looked like he killed Mario, that was a shocker. And then finally, when they allowed you to have a costume that could make you Sans as Undertale, the Earth was complete.
Oh, I'm so glad I'm so glad that you mentioned Cloud and Sephiroth. You might know what I'm about to talk about.
Fire away, brother.
Oh, boy.
Does anybody remember the fighting game Energize?
Air guys.
Air guys.
Air
Guys, God bless the
God
ring.
bless the
Yes.
ring. Yeah.
The first Smash
I remember
Brothers.
like seeing a preview of this, and this had nothing to do with Final Fantasy. But then I guess they thought like, hey, we have this shit game with these
Yeah.
shit characters.
Yeah.
This isn't gonna sell, so we have to jam Final Fantasy VII into this and make
Yes.
and
Cloud,
get-
Cloud, Tifa, and Sephiroth. All
Right.
together.
Yeah. And some
I would
random square
argue-
characters.
If,
That
you,
is
if
the
you had
only
seen it
reason
a
it
year
sold.
ago, a year before that, like I remember seeing, like I got kind of Mandela effect. Like I was like, did I? But no, that I had seen like a preview or something, and it had nothing to do, and it was all these other characters, and I was kind of interested in it because it was like weird shit.
For a shit version of Power Stone.
Yeah,
Yes.
but then when it came out, it was like, oh, it has Final Fantasy. What? At this time, I didn't care about RPGs or Final Fantasy or anything. I was like, oh, that sucks. Like, oh, this has like that's a weird thing that happened. But I think literally it was like, oh my god, this is a shit game that's not gonna sell. Maybe if we slap Final Fantasy VII into it, then people will actually fucking play it.
Not on topic, but
I played
just
it.
with what you've just said. Toe Ball #1.
Oh, yeah.
The only reason it was bought in the States was because they told you, oh yes, there's going to be a playable demo of Final Fantasy VII on the disc.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, most people only bought Zone of the Enders because it had the trial level for Metal Gear Solid 2.
That's very true. Some people bought Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes because, oh, it's going to be Metal Gear Solid 5. No, it's just literally like some random shit with the engine.
Yeah.
To be fair, the Fox engine is solid.
Yeah.
I'm sad that Konami has it because they make shit games with it. Metal Gear Survive.
Yes.
And then, like, we talk about, like, lending characters from one game to another. Now we get to, like, if we flash forward all the way to now, we have Fortnite that has all the licensings for all the...
Do you want Thanos to have the claptrap from Borderlands as his backpack? You can do it.
There is one game that I do need to speak of.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because I just watched a video on this. So there's a YouTube channel called How to Beat Video Games. Right? The most recent one that he did was Shinobi.
Oh, yeah.
For the Genesis.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is it or is it you can beat video games? I think you can beat video games. Yeah.
And it was Shinobi for the Genesis. Shinobi on the Master System and in the arcade was like a super big hit. So they're like, we got to have a new one for our 16-bit system.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when it was developed over in Japan, they were like, okay, so what are we going to do here? I'm going to list you some of the monsters and bosses and things you fight in Shinobi. Now, Ninja. So let's keep that in mind. You fight Rambo in the levels because he has the red bandana and a flamethrower.
Sure.
You fight the Incredible Hulk. That when you kill him, his green body goes away and he turns into the Terminator.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, Ryu Hayabusa. No, that's Ninja Gaiden. Who was Shinobi's guy? I forget who Shinobi's guy is. Anyway, he's a good guy. You fight Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Oh.
And you fight Batman. Because when you kill Spider-Man, he morphs into Batman.
Yep.
You have to kill both Marvel and DC's most beloved characters.
Yes.
In one fight.
When that game was brought to the States, though, of course, they changed the Rambo character. They changed the Hulk character. The Terminator part still kind of stayed the same because it's just generic robot. They changed Batman from looking like Batman into Man-Bat. But Spider-Man stayed because in the time between the port, they acquired the license to make a Spider-Man game. So they left Spider-Man in.
I love it.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah,
licensing, everybody.
There's something I'm going to mention, and Jay's going to mention the other game. But back in 360, the 360 time period, there was I don't know why. It's so weird to me why anybody would want to license a property from like 20 plus years prior that, an American audience would have no fucking clue what it was about. But I mean, it's a Japanese game that just got locally ported over, and that was the Fist of the North Star game from Koei, which was a Dynasty Warriors type game, but it was just one character, and you were the main character from Fist of the North Star. And I actually enjoyed it. It wasn't a shit game. I enjoyed it. A lot of people didn't like it. Whatever. But the game that came out for this generation of consoles.
Well, PS4.
PS4, last generation.
Yeah, Fist of the North Star. It's a Fist of the North Star skin over the Yakuza series, which is just over the top. Which is
shit crazy.
Which is perfectly like if this were like Grave of the Fireflies over Yakuza, it'd be fucking weird as shit. But because it's so over the top,
because it's Fist of the North Star,
because it's so over the top, and it's like you're already dead. Like yes,
and that's when you make a drink as a bartender.
Yeah, you have to go into the bar, and you have to do these like you have to carve the most perfect ice sphere to hand it, and if you don't do it right, you fail and you feel terrible. And the drink looks like it's poo-poo water, and it's
Jesus.
I highly it's in that stack right now.
Yeah.
It is one of
it's really fun.
One of the best games I've ever played for just mindless fun.
Speaking of Koei, they did make the Dynasty Warrior crossover for Gundam as well, which was also.
I remember seeing that.
There was Gundam Warriors.
Yeah.
It starts with the like Dynasty Warriors starts with the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and then you have Samurai Warriors, which follows the Sengoku Jidai area.
Which I think Samurai Warriors is the best of those games. The first one.
That's a bold statement because I think I burned up his PS2 playing Dynasty Warriors 2.
Dynasty Warrior 2, that was fun, but I mean,
I was pointing at Jason there.
Samurai Warriors, and I will say Capcom made one of those games called Devil King, which is also one of the best versions of those kind of games.
So here's
Mushu
a point I
games.
would like to make, and I'm glad you brought up Warriors.
Yeah.
Whenever Koei Tecmo makes a Dynasty Warriors game inside their bubble, like if it's Dynasty or Samurai or Orochi Warriors or something like that, those games have kind of fallen off for me.
Yes.
When they take a license that isn't theirs, they actually put effort into it. And specifically, the Hyrule Warriors
is good.
Hyrule Warriors was exceptional.
Yeah, I think the last one I actually enjoyed, and I don't want to go on a tangent on these, was probably like the first one that was on the 360 or something like that, as far as Dynasty Warriors games go. Like, or Samurai, it was Samurai Warriors 3 or something like that. Like, once it got to Orochi Warriors, I didn't care anymore. Like, for the
Well,
most,
I mean, that's literally the all-star game of it because it's
And
Dynasty
they
characters,
threw all three of
Samurai
them.
characters.
Yeah.
Ryu Hayabusa's in there. Rachel from the Ninja Gaiden that first came out on the original Xbox,
Right.
which was the reason why I bought an Xbox was to play Ninja Gaiden. 'cause,
Right.
Like that.
that game was awesome. So Fortnite, though.
Yeah.
Fortnite again, like
We'll let
All the-
y'all
all
talk
the
about this.
license.
I
Well,
know.
no,
We're just talking about the licensing.
again, it's not. We're no longer creating games based off of the license. We are taking pieces of a license and jamming them into a full game. You have Spider-Man. Spider-Man can fight like The Rock because The Rock is actually one of the characters in Fortnite.
Yeah.
Don't ask how that happened, but it
The
happened.
Foundation, yeah.
You have. Yeah, thank you. I couldn't think of the name there. They had a whole event with the Infinity Gauntlet, and like if you capture it, you're Thanos, and you get to like nuke 50 people and then die, and then the last person to kill you is probably the one who
The
wins
thing
it.
about that though is that you're licensing the likeness of the characters outside of the whole Thanos thing that they did, where like if you got the gauntlet, you became Thanos and really powerful. These are just skins. Like and during the season they had Spider-Man. They had a piece of equipment you could pick up where you could web sling, but they got rid of that. And after that, you're just Spider-Man with a gun. So it's not really the same thing. I don't think it's going to like completely kill off them licensing games out because I mean we have Spider-Man, we have Miles
those
Morales,
skins, and those skins are still there. Like Spider-Man is shooting at Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
right? Well, I
You
mean,
know what? I'm okay with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
An old school version of this where you're just licensing out single things that popped in my head was the old like the Tony Hawk Pro Skater game. How you would always have that secret character from some random
Spider-Man
Right.
was one of those
Spider-Man
secret
was
Yeah.
one
characters.
of them.
That's
Darth
true.
Maul was
Darth
the
Maul
third
was in
one.
there.
You know, so you were like, oh, I'm skating around and now I'm Spider-Man and I
Right.
can do like a web swing.
That
move
also
or
kind of
special
ties
something
into
like-
another point of licensing. Those games licensed actual music.
Yeah.
also true.
Oh yeah, that was the big. That was one of the big. I think that was why it took so long for them to like remaster that Tony Hawk 1 and 2 because they had to get the licensing again for all of those.
I remember when
those-
Tony Hawk 1 first comes out. I think it was 1 that had Amoeba by Agent Orange.
I know it was in 3. I'm not sure about 1.
When those first like notes of that hit,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
you know, that's, and then you like see it scroll at the bottom, you know, and track, you know, and
Man, some people acquired taste through that game.
Yeah.
like,
there are several like
what's this Deftone stuff I'm listening to?
there's
Yeah.
so much music in those games where, you know, people that were like, I'm just gonna play these games, they would listen to that music.
That
and
earworm.
That's your first experience with punk. That's your first experience with, you know, non-mainstream
Right.
radio rock. You know, that kind of stuff. And
I think
that's
that was
all
those-
licensing.
Maybe not that one, but I think it was the Dave Mirra BMX game.
Yeah.
I think that's the first time I heard Sublime.
I believe it.
because they had the summertime.
That was
song
around.
in
Yeah, that was
there.
around that time.
That one was different because it didn't have like track lists necessarily, but it had like when you played this level, like these,
It would
there
play
were-
that
there
song
were
the whole
one
level.
or two songs.
Yeah.
the whole level that it would play.
That was also a phenomenal game.
Oh,
Yeah.
that
first
of
one-
those of those like extreme
the first
sports
one
games,
is
like that,
good.
That was
Yeah.
was probably my favorite game.
How
out of
dare
all
you
of
not
those.
say BMX Triple X?
Yeah, you can go. You can go find hookers for a pimp.
Dave Mira was pissed.
Oh,
I can
yeah.
imagine.
No,
Because not only did they like do that, like go very mature with the game, but like the game is shit.
It's
like,
garbage.
It took a really good engine and
Right.
fucked it up.
So Dave Mira didn't realize that his likeness was going to be in that game, and I think he
I
even
didn't
went,
know that.
Yeah, buddy.
And so, like, oh, you're Dave Mira, and here's a girl with like electrical tape on her nipples.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Hey, do this mission so you can unlock a stripper video.
Yeah, buddy.
Yep.
Oof. Yeah. But yeah, those games did a lot for licensing. That's a way of like licensing in a different way. But those did
Right.
musical tastes from a lot of people from our generation. Like were solidified by those games.
Yep.
I believe it 100%.
And it was really like it was very like that was the more nostalgic stuff. Like when I bought Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remastered was playing that and then listening to those songs like, oh man,
Yeah, it brings it back.
This brings me back like even more than playing the specific levels of the game,
Right.
Which still did that, but woof, man. So yeah,
Yeah.
is there nothing left inside of it?
I think what we're taking away here is that licensing throughout the history of video games has been a roller coaster ride. There's been a lot of downs. There's been the ups have been really good though. Like the ups that we have, the few ups that we've had have been very good.
I would say the fewer. I don't think
Yeah.
it's few. I think there have
it's
been
definitely fewer.
and it all depends on what you're licensing.
Right.
Like when it comes to like a lot of the stuff that we've talked about with like Marvel or DC or something. A lot of those trend on the really good side. Not always, but there's
your fighting games, your wrestling games.
I'm also
your sports games.
I'm also really happy when I see like not a game fail, but somebody learned from their mistakes. So like they had that Avengers game that came out that was complete trash, and then they made the Guardians of the Galaxy game, which is pretty good comparably.
Yeah.
So they're learning, and I think we're still getting full on licensed games, and that's not going to stop. But yeah, we're definitely the Fortnite thing, and that Fortnite's not the only game that does that. And there's also like really bad like third party in game purchase apps that on your phone.
I think now used to like the problem would be just the licensing because we want to make a quick buck. Now if the licensed game has a problem, it's because it's a greater symptom of video games at the time, DLC, pay to win, things like that.
Yeah, ultimately, I think that's where
so
we're
a game being a licensed property or a licensed thing doesn't necessarily automatically mean that it's bad.
No.
Well, it's like you were talking about with Fortnite and
Right.
the Spider-Man skin. I think we're always going to have licensed games. Like that's not going to go away
Right.
for the simple reason that it was 30 years ago.
Right.
Same thing. Hey, the kid saw this movie and now he's begging mom for the video game, or mom remembers the movie and sees the game and buys it for the kid. You're always going to have that, but I think realistically Fortnite is kind of more the way that we're going to go. We're going to see fighting games or sports games or even shooters, that kind of stuff where, hey kids, you like your Modern Warfare?
Right.
Do you want to be SpongeBob when you shoot the Nazis? Here you go. You can buy the SpongeBob
and I
skin
think
for
that's going to
$5.
be more integrated.
Shut up! You just gave them an idea.
I think that's going to be more integrated in phone games.
Yeah,
there's a lot of like generic puzzle, 3-way puzzle game, Marvel super puzzles.
There's the thing, the Marvel. I think it's called Marvel Contest of Champions or something like
well,
that.
even though we're not sponsored by them, even though they sponsor every other thing on the internet, I'm going to talk a moment about Raid Shadow Legends.
Jesus.
They licensed the likeness.
Reset the clock.
Yeah, there you go.
Reset the clock. It's been how long since
Raid Shadow Legends licensed the likenesses of Ninja and Alexander, who is Simple, one of the best Counter-Strike players in the world. They licensed their likenesses to be characters in that game. Now, they did it in a way that those characters, you could unlock them for if you played like 7 days straight, if you logged in once a day for 7 days, you got the characters. You didn't have to buy them. They were free rewards. However, now that they're no longer available, now there's this level of FOMO that comes along with it. It's like, okay, when did I like? Because right now, like the Alexander the Sharpshooter is actually not very well received. It was kind of a lower bar character, but the ninja character is used like in, I want to say, some of the bigger teams in the entire game, both in the arena, which is the actual PvP area, which is where you really want to, like, if you're going to flex on somebody, that's where you're going to flex. It's like, look at all the money time I've spent making these characters better.
I want to touch on Fortnite one more time before we move on to wrap everything up. The way they do that for their skins in Fortnite, for their licensed skins in Fortnite. Like, for example, this season is Darth Vader. That's what, when you get to level 100, you unlock Darth Vader. Initially, back when Fortnite came out, I bought the first season for $10. In-game play unlocks money to buy the next season. So as long as you play within the 60-day time period of the season enough, which is probably around 60 hours during that 60 days, you can probably unlock everything, including enough in-game currency to buy the next season. Now, those costumes you unlock will become available in a couple of months after the season's over with, maybe 6 months to a year. That's when you have to pay $20 for the Spider-Man outfit. However, if you are integrated into the system of playing the game frequently enough, you can unlock that without actually putting any money into it. So I don't think that's necessarily a terrible thing, but I really don't care about the skins. I just like playing the game every so often.
But now we've shifted from like, mommy, buy me this game to, hey, mommy, put money in my account.
Hey, mommy, let me spend $16,000 on Star Citizen.
Yeah, give me your credit card.
Yeah,
Mama,
give me your put your credit card in here.
I need them V-Bucks, Mama.
I want to buy a planet for $1 million in real dollars.
Right. Yeah. Oof.
Or however much it was for a planet.
I think I have a way to cap this very well.
Oh.
Gentlemen, around the board, your favorite licensing in video games, whether it was a whole game or just something in a part of a game, and your least favorite licensing in a video game, again, whole game or in part. Does anyone have
I'll go first.
All right, here we go.
Spider-Man 2 from the PS2 era, or PS1 era.
The GameCube version of that is also exceptional.
And that is actually what, like, if it's not based off of, they were heavily influenced by that when they made the PS4 version of the Spider-Man game by Insomniac. 100%. Those games are fucking phenomenal and replay value out the ass. But yeah, on the PlayStation 1, Spider-Man 2, fucking great. As far as like least favorite licensed game, I'm gonna go for the low bar and say, out of all of them, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay.
God, that one was bad.
Yeah. That was a 4-player NES game.
Yes, it was.
I think for me, probably like anything from that Marvel Street Fighter Capcom fighting game thing. I love those games. I don't have enough time to really put forth in them. But like I said, like Marvel superheroes, that was the reason that I decided to buy a PlayStation. Like, that's why I told my mom and dad, hey, I want a PlayStation for Christmas. So those had a big effect on me. But like a lot of Marvel properties, that newer Spider-Man game is great. It's one of the best games that I've played in quite some time. Worst, I haven't played these, but I'm gonna those really shitty Xbox Burger King games.
Oh, Sneak King.
Sneak King.
The one where you play like bumper cars.
Yeah,
and
there's
you're
like a
playing
bumper
hockey.
cars
No,
one.
that game's exceptional. I love it.
Sure, have at it. They've gotten to you, I see.
No, I don't like to eat Burger King. I'd like the idea of bumper car hockey.
Sure. To each his own, I guess. I'm not here to yuck your yum. But yeah, those are
bullshit. You yuck everyone's yums all the time.
But yeah, that's mine. I don't know.
The worst one is easy. I already told that story.
Yeah.
X-Men.
Yeah.
To a lesser extent, any of those LJN licensed products. Honestly, as much as I hate the practice now, probably the best is going to be those, like the Maddens. Really and truly. It was always cool. I mean, we played them in college, ton of them.
Right.
It was always fun to sit down with like the NCAA football for the year, 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in the PlayStation. Play 4 years at Ole Miss where we went to college.
Right.
On the Ole Miss team, and then finish it up, export that draft class, then pop in Madden 2002, import the draft class, and then get drafted onto a team and play.
As much as I hate sports, I do really, at the time, really did enjoy those college games. Were fucking phenomenal.
I don't play them now
Right.
too much. I don't get into the whole, the leagues and that kind of stuff. But back then, sitting on the couch in the dorm room, playing, me throwing the ball to my roommate, that was really cool.
Yeah.
And that was, the licensed stadiums, the licensed everything. So that would probably be the best ones for now.
Okay. For me, as far as best, there's a game on the Nintendo 64 called GoldenEye 007.
Oh, we fucking
And
forgot to mention that one.
Colloquially known as GoldenEye 64.
Jay, you saved us an email, maybe.
Maybe. But yeah, that is a licensed game, but it is very well done.
Oh, yeah.
I would argue that the world of first-person shooters does not.
Hey, quit looking at my
exist.
screen.
I can't stop looking at the screen. The screen's
We're
there at all times.
player on a 13-inch TV. Looking at my screen.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let me get right up on my. Okay, there we go. I'm right up on it, so I can't look at you right now.
For me,
who's the asshole that selected Odd Job?
Oh, yeah.
Odd
Who's
Job,
the
Odd
asshole that
Job,
selected
Slappers
proximity
only.
mines?
We got so bad that we never thought of saying no Odd Job.
Yeah.
But then we figured out, hey, if you crouch, then you can hit Odd Job.
Yeah.
But then the Odd
then
Job
Odd Job
players
just crouches.
the Odd Job. Well, we got like a game in, like a round or two in before he figured that out.
See, we got
but then
around
I figured
that.
out to put proximity mines in this
See,
one place.
That's where we fit. We always played proximity mines in the facility where
Yeah.
every 5 seconds you're blowing up. It just didn't matter.
Yeah.
When you play Odd Job, you got to have slappers only.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we played slappers only.
Yeah, the world of first person shooters, especially on console, I don't think looks the way it does now without that.
Yeah.
As far as, and I've mentioned this term before, but as far as my worst ones, like again talking about work for hire, this terminology was used by the president of the company that said this is not a work for hire. This is something we're very passionate about as a team, and we want to put forward a great product. And that was Aliens Colonial Marine.
Ooh.
That game is garbage. There's a few bright shining stars in just a black sea of death.
Wasn't the sequel pretty good?
Isolation.
Isolation. Was it Isolation?
It wasn't a sequel.
Oh,
but
was it?
Sega made that.
Oh,
Yeah.
somebody else made that game.
Yeah.
That was
Someone
just
else
a
made
totally
that game.
different game.
Oh, okay.
Is a totally
that was a
different
game came after, but
Yeah.
not by the
Yeah.
same company.
No,
I got
no,
you.
no. The people who made Borderlands.
It's a good thing that we mentioned that, 'cause I'm certain somebody would say.
Gearbox ended up with it and finished it out.
Oh, okay.
It was the AI in that game is horrible. Go online and you will see like aliens literally running into the wall, and you're just standing next to them.
Somebody went through the code and was like, there was one
there was
thing
a
that was off
one letter typo.
Yeah.
That if you
Oh.
fixed that, everything worked better. I'm not saying it worked.
Right.
It worked better, but yeah, you have tap dancing aliens. Like you literally have
Wow.
the scene from Spaceballs, where it's like, "Hello, my baby, hello, my honey." Yeah, like he's just dancing. Like,
And then you contrast that with Aliens, with Alien Isolation, where they literally had they figured out 3 AIs, because you had the alien which would hunt for you that didn't know your location, but then you had an overarching AI that knew everything, so it was doing different. So you have that fuck up, and then you have some where people actually put in time,
Right.
and figure things out and figure how do we make an alien.
Yeah, you guys
game.
got me wanting to play that Isolation game.
And then you have
It is
WWE 2K19.
That's just nothing but bugs.
Well, that's Uke saying,
the hair-
"Fuck you guys, we're going home."
The hair physics in that game aren't there. They aren't there.
I've heard the new game's actually okay.
It is.
I've
it
heard
is
good things about
It's
it.
good. I will say this. Hello, game developers. You're not listening, but whatever. Take a year off.
Yeah, you don't have to make a game every
Well,
single year.
again,
Wait,
the
what?
people.
No, sir, no. As the
Well,
man
I will also.
at this table, You have to make a game a year. How are you going to get that $60?
I will also
or $70.
I will also say that the people that are actually making the game, the actual people making the actual game, go 6 months left. Fuck you guys, we're going home. You figure that shit out.
Yeah.
That's what happened to that game.
That particular one.
That specific
Then
one.
they also said, well, fuck it, and we'll just release it.
They just, I have the,
fuck it, we're doing it live.
Yeah, no, fuck it, we're not fucking touching it. Yeah, we fixed it.
Yeah.
That's what they did. But anyway,
There you go.
angry rant over.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the bus is pulling into the station, and what a wonderful ride we've been on. We would like to thank everybody for coming on out tonight to the podcast, Travelers on the Omnibus. And if it wasn't night where you were, then good day to you. How about that? We have some friends and colleagues that we would like to shout out with, and I want Jason to select one of them. He can select himself. And plug them on this wonderful podcast.
How is it y'all do it? Do you like whiskey? Do you like wrestling?
Yeah. The
Isn't
old
that the way-
classics.
Do you like
the
whiskey
classic?
and or wrestling?
And or wrestling? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you should listen to Whiskey and Wrestling then, where me and Michael, another friend, talk about the week's wrestling, and usually have a whiskey. Sometimes we have something else. Sometimes we have something that we've already had before.
What's the most recent whiskey you've done?
We did Crown, just plain old Crown.
Plain old
I
Crown?
think.
Oh, wow.
No, Crown Reserve. I'm sorry.
Okay.
was the most recent one that we did.
A more distilled version of it.
And I think this week we're doing Crown Black.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Very nice.
So, we got some whiskey. We try to give a little bit of the history of the whiskey, if possible, but then we just dive into how just absolute, atrociously bad and shit wrestling is, and how bad we feel for watching it still.
Do we believe
got some
there?
good things
Do we
to talk about this
Do we
week, then.
believe there's a ray of hope now?
Yes, and we spoke about it a little bit on our last episode where we talked about Vince stepping down. Arguably the most important thing in wrestling ever.
Yeah.
With him retiring, and then what do we think that's going to look like in the post WWE or the post Vince WWE? Of course, we didn't have a lot of the details at that point. We got some more now to talk about when we record Sunday. Which that'll then go up on Mondays is our new normal date.
There you go.
So yeah, give us a listen.
Absolutely.
Cool,
Catch them on all major podcasting platforms.
All of them. Yeah. Okay.
Even 92.5 Rebel Radio.
92.1, sir.
Was it one?
It's 92.1.
Oh hell.
And I only know that because it was still programmed in my old Camaro.
Damn.
That Camaro that we brought 5 people in a
a
television
TV
in.
home in,
Yeah,
yeah.
there we go.
Jesus.
Fearology is a show I host sometimes. No, me? No, not me. JL Kite. That guy.
JL Kite smells like ocean musk and once dared a dwarf to punch him.
JL Kite is definitely drinking Bailey's out of a boot.
He's definitely drinking Bailey's before, that's for sure. As this is a show about horror in general. You can catch it on Spotify or Anchor if you're.
Are the short story episodes up?
It's not. It should be uploaded by the time this episode comes out.
Excellent.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to take this next one since I've actually met the man and I know his name now.
Yeah.
Our friends Jared Hubbard and Kevin Sheldon.
Yay.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Do a podcast called Silence Your Cell Phones where they talk about movies. And, sometimes they'll do like watch-alongs and things like that. And they'll stream on YouTube. So check them out on all your major podcasting stuff. Yeah. If you like hearing people give their opinions on movies and talk about shit like that, check them out. That is Jared Hubbard and Kevin Sheldon. I'm saying them again because I want him to know that I know his name now. I have met the man.
I love how you sneak specifically the word shit into every promo that you do.
It's a force of habit, sir.
Okay, clearly. There we go. As always, we would like to thank Gregory Spanier and all the staff at McNarb Gaming
Thank
in
you,
Goshen,
Greg.
Mississippi.
Thank you, Greg.
For providing us this wonderful studio space from which we can record these wonderful podcasts for you. Stop by McNarb Gaming in Goshen, Mississippi and pick up Level Up. Voted by some to be one of the top 10 RPG books of the 2022.
I'm going to eventually pick up that a copy of like the Adventurer's Guide because there are some interesting things in it that,
And again,
that I want to check out.
Again, that will be you can buy that now at McNarb Gaming in Goshen, Mississippi. Also, big shout out to Big Dog Liquor, because if you're gonna have whiskey and wrestling here, you got to talk about where they get their whiskey from. Big Dog Liquor, also in Goshen, Mississippi. Your finest spirits, your finest wines. Do they have very good wine selection? There we go.
They have a huge wine selection. They do. If you like wine, you can even order cases and get discounts.
There you go. So there you go, right there. Yeah, you were sitting across from me. It's like, no, let's get all of the plug.
Plug everything. Plug
All
everything.
right. I'm going to force us to watch a movie next time. So next time, the Travelers on the Omnibus review The Warriors.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We will wait. If we can get it together, we can just watch it separately. I think this is not, and specifically the young boy needs to listen to that.
He needs to watch
what's
it
being
with
pointed
them.
at.
You have.
I was getting to that. So
maybe we need to like plan these things out so like we don't step on each other's feet all the time.
No, this is actually like some of the fun parts. Like again, my friend Megan, aka Goon, likes it when we bicker with one another.
Oh, we do have feedback.
Actually, yeah. Well, actually, proper.
You
like,
gotta scrap the whole episode now.
No. I'll move this
Editor
part.
J, move this to the other
I'll
part.
move this part with that part in there as well
Yeah.
into the middle, and. I won't cut anything else out, so it's completely disjointed. I will also add a reverb, like we've somehow been caught in a storm drain. And everything
that
will
way
be
it's
great.
avant-garde.
So,
and
next
all those
time-
other pretentious words.
So next time, The Warriors, brought to you by the Travelers on the Omnibus. Now, because
Yeah,
it
we
wouldn't
can dig it.
because now we're in the post-show segment.
So if you're doing the Warriors, everybody has to have the beer bottles, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so now we're in the
Come
post show.
out to play.
Like I will have done the this is basically the lights out match of the episode.
Oh, okay.
Because whiskey and wrestling's here.
Yeah.
So,
So
as
this doesn't count for anybody's actual.
it's not going on anybody's record.
Yeah.
So
This
like
is just the dark match. This is like send them home happy. This is where John Cena comes out.
only the true super fans will see this because they're like, I'm going to play the outro music. And so if people notice, why there was a couple extra minutes on this, what's going on? Because ladies and
Oh,
gentlemen,
Jesus, nobody's gonna pay attention to this.
I only want the super fans to be a part of this. Ladies and
every
gentlemen.
podcast that I listen to,
Ladies and gentlemen.
when it gets to be like 2 minutes left, I am out.
Brady, release the seal.
Release the seal.
As we
mentioned,
last week, there is an ice cream.
Are you ready?
It is by, if I got this right, is it Jean Leweer? Van Leeuwen, excuse me. Van Leeuwen. Van Leeuwen, Grey Poupon with salted pretzels, French ice cream. I am opening.
That sounds atrocious.
Yes, so I'm going to open this up now. It wasn't a freezer, but we put it in a fridge because we only got a fridge around here. Oh, no, it freezed pretty good. And it's also sticking to the paper is sticking.
That's what you want.
I may be eating paper stuck ice cream in here. This this is dangerous.
Bad.
This is
That looks
fucking
so
dangerous.
I had seen pictures of it before, and it didn't look that bad.
Oh, it looks so gross.
That looks
Okay, so
awful.
as I normally do, I took the wrapper off and I licked my hand a little bit, and I've been given a preview of my hell. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I have in front of me here is a French vanilla ice cream, and it has swirls of Grey Poupon mustard in it. Oh, you're getting a camera out for this?
Salted caramel.
Let me know when the camera. Let me know when the
pretzel
camera's going out. If you're wondering why I'm introducing again, the second one is because I have a camera on me now. Send me that video, and then it's gonna go up on some sort of YouTube channel that we've got. I don't know how we're gonna work it. All right, are we ready?
We're rolling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a little bit of after show with the Travelers on the Omnibus. My name is James McCarthy, and this is Grey Poupon with chunk pretzel French vanilla ice cream. Look at it. Look at it, everyone. I'm sorry, Jody. I'm sorry I had to get that closer to you, but here we go. I am about to take a bite of this. In nomine Patri, in Filii, in Spiritus Sancti. Amen.
Oh, and it's like half melted.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God. That's too big of a bite.
Pray for me.
Jesus.
Oh.
No, we got some ASMR in here. That's gross.
I think
don't
we're
like
about to get the in here as well.
I don't like that smacking.
I can't tell if part of what I ate was pretzels or rubber. The French vanilla is soft. It is layered. It is exactly what you want out of French vanilla. The Grey Poupon is pungent and powerful, just what you want out of Grey Poupon. The pretzels are rubber.
Ah, okay.
1.5 out of 5. Feed this to Ethan. And that, my friends, is that. So to all
Oh,
of
you're
our
not going to eat any more?
No, I'm not. I said I would eat. I didn't say I was going to eat the pint. It's a pint, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I wasn't going to eat the pint. A serving of this is 310 calories. To down the whole pint is 830 calories.
That's fair, I guess.
Just eat a whole pizza.
Yeah.
Just eat a whole pizza. You'll have a fantabulous time with that. So, from myself, James McCarthy.
Brady Davis.
Jason Holder.
Jody Kite.
If they don't see you on the camera, then it's like I've been with 3 ghosts. It's going to be great. Thank you. God bless you. And good night, everybody.